From the beginning of time, there has been many unsolved questions that humans have been desperate to know the answer to. Is there life after death? Where do we come from? Is Michael Jackson still alive? And how many Legos can you stuff up your... But there is one question, one important question, that no human has attempted to answer as of today, because of its sheer uncertainty and our lack of knowledge on the subject. And that question is, are the Sonic movies any good? Yeah, these movies have definitely sparked interest, not just from Sonic fans, but also fans of cinema, especially since we almost got this. And now we have a full-on franchise. So with the release of Sonic 3, we now have a complete trilogy on our hands. So I thought now would be the best time to have a quick recap on them. Please note that I'll be going over how good these films are at being films, and not at how good they are as Sonic movies. I know quite a bit about Sonic and his games, but there's so many other people out there who could do a better job than me with that. And films is more of my thing than video games. Obviously. Now, let's just jump in. Let's just start with the film that started it all, Sonic 1. Or just Sonic. This movie released in early 2020, right before the Dark Ages. But despite that massive setback, it still did pretty well financially. However, there's still one little problem. I've somewhat already talked about this film in my watching a movie every day for a month video, and quickly looking back at that video whilst also suffering from my god awful voice back then, every point I made still holds up. This video really isn't starting well, is it? You know what? I'm just going to pretend like I didn't make that video. Let's start from scratch. So the first Sonic movie is below average, but I think it could have been worse. Like a lot worse. Okay, let's just address the elephant in the room. What were Paramount doing when they decided that this was an acceptable design? Did they have a dartboard with physical features, and whatever they landed on, they just added it to his design? This massive flaw was the reason why for so long I believed that this was a marketing tool, only to look at the behind the scenes models and toy models just to realise that somehow this was the design all along. Okay, that's enough with the ugly design. What about the design that we currently have? It's okay. Nothing here that screams, that's not Sonic, except his arms, which are a different colour for some reason. But once you're invested in the story, it's certainly nothing to complain about. And that story you get invested in is fine. Cause it's a road trip movie, which is easily the most risk-free storyline you could have. Okay, maybe it's a good road trip movie. Maybe there's something about it that draws kids as well as adults into its storyline. The first Sonic movie is about Sonic and a cop retrieving Sonic's rings at the top of a tower. Okay, what else released in 2020? My one problem with this is that you could have literally anyone here other than Sonic, and the story would 95% stay the same. You could have Gromit, Bagpuss, Michael Jackson, Fireman Sam, Knuckles, Sabrina Benji Carpenter, Sandero,
Michelle
John
Obama,
Williams,
Paddington,
Gary
Paul
McCartney,
McCartney,
Miles
Mark
Teller,
Timothy
Chris
Chalamet,
Pratt,
Mark
Mr.
Zuckerberg.
So you see what I mean? Apart from his rings, there's really nothing to do with Sonic that's present here. What about the stuff that is present? Well, for a start, I think the slow motion scene is very creative with the use of Sonic's super speed. It gives us a look at what Sonic sees when he's using his powers, which, with the music, gives us a nice little montage. But at the same time, I just sit there and wonder what's stopping him from using his powers whenever he needs to. For example, during a car chase, what's stopping Sonic from freezing time and, I don't know, breaking into Robotnik's car and swerving the car off the road? Wouldn't it be easier to just say his powers were timed?
Nurse, have somebody fix that clock. It's very distracting.
But at least the soul of the movie isn't that bad, and by that I mean the relationship between Tom and Sonic. I feel like if they butchered this, the movie would be way worse. But luckily, they didn't. Right till the end, I was convinced that Tom and Sonic became good friends because they took time into understanding each other. Like when Sonic is rapidly writing down a bucket list, and when Sonic realises that he's yet to do much with his time on Earth, Tom quickly helps him complete as much as he can via a montage in the bar. And that's very wholesome. Revisiting this, I didn't expect the emotional moments to be this well thought out and executed, but outside of this bar scene, the human characters really do not do anything. I couldn't even name you a single piece of dialogue Maddie or Rachel have, because they're barely important in helping Sonic. Heck, Rachel even slows down Tom and Sonic as soon as they arrive in San Francisco. But it was funny seeing that the only solution they had to keep Rachel's mouth shut was to tie her up to a chair. So this part gets a pass. However, easily the best thing about this movie, and it's probably the same with its sequels, is definitely Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. Yes, he doesn't look a lot like Robotnik in this movie, but the moment he gets introduced and he has this funny exchange with the army guy, you're just glued to his performance. It's very cartoony and outlandish, but it works impeccably with the tone of this movie. Not to mention he brings 99% of the comedy to this movie, and he's actually a threat to Sonic and Tom, and his relationship with Stone has no reason to be this interesting. Oh my god! I think I've just talked myself into liking this film even more. So where does this bring the film's rating for me? Give me an M, give me an E, give me an H, it's fine. You can tell there was some genuine care put into it, unlike this product. And there's certainly enough good stuff here to make it tolerable. So Sonic numero uno gets a 5 out of 10 from me. Would have been an 11 out of 10, but Sonic Flossing brings it down quite a bit. My only problem is now I don't know what the next film is. Hang on, is that Billy Joel?
Hello, Benji. I am definitely Billy Joel.
Hi, Billy. What are you doing here?
I'm here to help you with finding out what comes after Sonic 1.
Billy, I was being sarcastic.
Only thing is, I'm obliged by contract to help you if I sing my hit song, We Didn't Start the Fire, that I definitely made, because I am Billy Joel.
Okay, I guess we're doing this.
Covid Tenant Manor Santa Metal Shang-Chi, RRR, Nightmare Alley, Tick Tick Boom, West Side Story, Coda Dune, Sing 2, Taka Maverick, Sonic 2, Women Talking Babylon.
Wait. What was that one with the number in the title? No, not that one. There it is. Side note, if you're enjoying this video up until now, then please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out massively and goes a long way. And I need to look after my pet bear. Okay, back to the video. Here's a quick episode of Benji's Badass Storytime. I'm 16 years old and I go to this indoor fair. It was a good time. Later that day I decide to go to the cinema for the first time. By myself. History was made that day. And I landed on this. I go into the screen, take my seat, expecting an experience like the first Sonic film. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is shockingly good. The first thing that is apparent is the story, and that it is a huge step up from the first, by taking inspiration from Sonic and Knuckles and just putting that into this film. For once, the story doesn't feel like a fictional character in a story where anyone could be there. It actually feels like a Sonic movie, which not only helps the tone, but also my enjoyment. I also think the inclusion of other Sonic characters, such as Knuckles and Tails, are a big step up from the human characters. They were always going to be more interesting since they're integral characters to the game, so it makes sense why they have just as much screen time as Sonic. Not to mention that the two new voice actors are both surprisingly great. Colleen O'Shaughnessy, Shaun the Sheep, Shaun Nessie, Colleen O'Shaughnessy. Colleen as Tails sounds almost too perfect. For years I've always thought that Tails was kind of an annoying character. This is just a personal preference of mine. I've never really liked his voice in other Sonic media. But here, not only does Tails sound spot on, but Tails actually sounds bearable. So I gotta commend Colleen and the scriptwriters. And Idris Elba as Knuckles. Oh wow. For once, Knuckles doesn't sound dumb. Yes, there's multiple times in the film where he doesn't understand things such as friends and fun, but that's because he comes from a world where these things weren't explained thoroughly to him, because his family was taken away from him so young. Not to mention that, like Jim Carrey, he's also hilarious, so pairing them together was just comedy gold. Like the reoccurring joke when Knuckles breaks someone's hand when he goes in for a handshake, and when he throws a lump of sand at Sonic.
Why did you save me?
And speaking of Sonic, I feel like he goes through the most character development in this movie. He befriends Knuckles easily, even after their numerous fights across the films. He's a guide for Tails, just like how Tom was a guide for Sonic in the first film. He's also willing to sacrifice himself in desperate situations, such as when he has to run across water, when he has to try and retrieve the Master Emerald from Robotnik, who, once again, is a joy to watch. The movie even starts with him, for crying out loud. That's how you know these movies really appreciate Jim Carrey.
Piece of sh**!
They also went the extra length of making him look more like his video game counterpart, which just makes me think, can you imagine anyone else who could dress up like this and you could still take them seriously? I know Denzel couldn't. I also love how the human characters help out a lot more in this one, like when Sonic and Tails get captured by Gun and it's up to Maddie and Rachel to free them. It's a nice empowering moment to women without going over the top. Looking straight into your skull, endgame. And the jokes from Rachel land 100% of the time for me, like how she throws this boomerang weapon thingy and says,
I did not mean to do that!
Or when she threatens Olive Garden guy and she mocks him like this.
No!
However, during this segment, I completely forgot that this was a movie about a blue hedgehog that goes fast. I'm not saying the scene's bad, it's fine and all, it's just that it feels massively out of place. Exactly like this scene where Sonic and Tails have a dance-off, simply because Uptown Funk is playing. That song was 7 years old in 2022. And looking back, it makes the film, what's the word again? Cringe. And I hate using that word. Couldn't they have just used something that came out around that period, so at least it wouldn't be a product of its time? Or have a song that's older, but fits with what's going on? For example, just imagine something like Word Up. That song is a tune. Anyway, the final battle was pretty entertaining, and Supersonic was a great inclusion, but this moment where the Master Emerald shatters and you can see the Chaos Emeralds falling out was the moment I realised, yeah, there's going to be no stakes from this point on. Look what you did to this guy! But it does have Jim Carrey still thinking he stands a chance against a literal god, which I found amusing. I'm telling you guys, and I'll keep bringing it up, this guy is the Sonic Universe's Jesus. He is seriously too good at his job. Also, the credits just give me so much nostalgia. It was an exciting time in my life, and so when I hear Stars in the Sky by Kid Cudi, I just sit there, listen, and smile. And then Shadow. With the inclusion of Shadow confirmed for the third movie, and with it most likely to be based off Sonic Adventure 2, which so happens to be one of my favourite video games of all time, best believe me, my hype was off the charts. They actually got me invested in the next Sonic movie. But before we get to that, we gotta give Sonic 2 a score. So, 6.5 out of 10. I may have nostalgia bias, but what are you gonna do? And yes, I have rewatched the film since I saw it in cinemas, and my opinion still stands. Okay, now we can move on to Shadow 3. I mean, Sonic 3. So now we get to the most recent one, the latest iPhone if you will. And to cut to the chase, did this live up to my expectations? It's alright. One thing I completely respect about this is that it borrows heavily from Sonic Adventure 2, which, as I mentioned 0.3 nanoseconds ago, is one of my favourite video games. But on the other hand, one thing I don't respect is that it doesn't borrow enough from it. Hear me out. The whole plotline with Maria and Shadow is missing plenty from Adventure 2 that isn't explained in the film, such as Shadow's amnesia and how in this he remembers Maria completely, despite the fact in the game he thought Maria was telling him to destroy mankind, which is exactly why he goes after the gun organisation. But in reality Maria said to look after humanity, which eventually in that game he does, but here, no amnesia, so why does he go all John Wick on our trio?
I see what you did there.
They're also missing other characters that would benefit the story greatly, like Rouge and Amy. These are two characters that are clinical to Shadow's character arc, not just in the Sonic universe, but in Sonic Adventure 2 especially, with Amy being the one to talk some sense into Shadow and remind him what Maria really said to him, and Rouge helping Shadow by dealing with Knuckles and trying to get the Master Emerald from him. This just shows that Sonic Adventure 2 has such a well written story for a video game, and it's a shame they didn't go all out. But now, we gotta talk about the cooler Daniel. That being Shadow. And I'm gonna start with a hot take. I don't think Keanu Reeves fits Shadow's voice. I know, yes, I know. Okay, I get it. Just hear me out. Look at the scenes with him and Maria and how he sounds like a 50-year-old man.
A light shines, even though the star is gone.
When I wasn't watching the montage, which in all is pretty wholesome, and when I was watching this scene where Maria and Shadow are laying in the field looking at the stars, I was getting a vibe similar to this, as well as Keanu's voice being a bit too deep for Shadow. Don't get me wrong, Shadow's voice is meant to be deep, but not that deep. If you want someone who sounds pretty similar to Shadow, there you go. And if some of you say that all you hear when he speaks is Anakin Skywalker, he's aged since then, and his voice sounds a bit deeper, but not too deep. I wonder who that fits well with. But at least they managed to fix the human characters a lot. I swear with every passing film they're in these films less, and do more with their screen time, like how they disguise themselves as Randall and Rachel to sneak into gun space, and how Tom easily gets the second keycard from Jane from Breaking Bad, only to get game ended by Shadow. This just goes to show that even the writers don't even know what to do with them for 90 minutes. That's why when Sonic, Tails and Knuckles escape from the black hole to Tom and Maddie's house, they're doing literally anything to keep themselves occupied. Baking a cake, playing golf, going on a walk, watching this lousy channel, starting their pension, you name it. And once they're present in the intro, they don't come back in the film for like another 30 minutes. And speaking of the intro, just like Sonic, the pacing goes incredibly fast up until Robotnik is present again. It's like they go from Shadow breaking out of captivity, to a friendly race, to fighting Shadow in Tokyo, to the Olive Garden guy's assassination, within the span of 15 minutes, and it felt like too much to keep up with. This was the first sign that I was unsure if the film was going to be good. And then Jim Carrey comes back on screen. And yeah, you already know what I'm going to think about him. And they did a thing by having two Jim Carreys on screen, which is without a doubt the highlight of the film. They knew that one Jim Carrey wasn't enough, so they invented a simple thing called cloning. Gerald and Dr. Robotnik dancing through lights is peak cinema. I'm just going to play this clip longer than usual just so you can enjoy this richness. You ain't getting better than this. As well as them breaking the fourth wall and constantly bringing laughter to everyone with this Christmas tree jump. After this video, I'm going to have a poster on my wall of Jim Carrey so I can sleep easy at night, knowing he fulfilled his role of coming back for this iconic character. Even if it never gets explained to us in the final cut. Because there's a funny deleted scene where Agent Stone looks after Robotnik after he broke every bone in his body from the fall in the second movie. All they had to do was keep this in and I wouldn't be so bothered. But what bothers me the most with this movie is Sonic himself. He just goes off by himself most of the time, and when he does, he always ends up hurting his friends. Like when he uses the Master Emerald against Shadow, and when he abandons the plan to wait until Gun's shield is down. All I have to say is, Kenichi, what? Did he not learn from the last movie? Did he just abandon Tails and Knuckles for personal glory? Is this a case of character assassination? Probably. But at least the action is once again another step up. There's always a constant level of stakes at hand, since the group is often against Shadow, who is probably the strongest character that people are aware of. And the action scenes are extra creative this time around, like how Sonic chases Shadow, who's on his iconic motorbike, and both of them late in turning super and are fighting round the world, as well as hearing Live and Learn in the cinema. The moment where Shadow and Sonic locked hands and that guitar riff starts shredding, ooh, literal chills. So now we're up to date with the Sonic Cinematic Universe, and I'll give this one a solid 6 out of 10 like the second one. If you were to put a gun to my head and ask me which one was better, I'd probably say the second one, but don't force me to take my Jim Carrey poster down. He's staying right where he belongs. It's interesting to look back on a set of films in which I remember every individual one of them releasing, as well as having a video game franchise on movies that are both financially successful as well as bearable to watch. The Mario Bros movie only did one of these, and the Sonic franchise definitely has room to continue, with a fourth installment already confirmed for early 2027, which, judging by the order of what games they've adapted so far, I'm gonna guess the plot of that will be based off Sonic Heroes or Sonic 06, or Sonic Apocalypse, who knows.